Welcome back to Funky Politics, the hardest hitting political show on the planet. That's right, folks. We are hard hitting and we are still on this planet right now, as far as I'm concerned. I am DC, the host of this wonderful program. Wow, man, what a week. What a week we got ahead of ourselves, right? What a week we got ahead of ourselves. What a week we've had in the past. What a year. Damn it, 2020. Please show us some love. Show us some love. Please, 2020, show us some love. But anyway, hey, it's official, folks. 10.2% of working Americans are out of work. Looked at the numbers this morning. You're talking about 51 million Americans. That's including non-farm jobs, and that's including folks who've just given up looking for work. We have got a problem. Claims last week, of course, were down. They were down from the 1,000,002 the week prior. They're down about 983,000. So that's folks that are applying for unemployment. We have got to have relief. We got to have relief yesterday, not today, but got to have it yesterday, folks. The Senate, do your job, Mitch McConnell. Do your damn job, or you need to get gone, bro. One of the two. But I tell you what, I want you all to take a listen to this. There's a lot of Americans that are hurting, some that look like us, and some that don't look like us. Check this out.
Getting unemployment benefits is still a challenge for thousands of people in our area. 3 News Now investigators have been trying to help get cases reviewed. One Iowa man has been waiting months for help and might soon get an answer. Investigator Jeff Van Sant has the story.
We live in a stressful world, a global pandemic, unprecedented unemployment. So many face an uncertain future. With so many filing for unemployment, getting it can take months.
We're about almost 2 months behind on the rent, and we're getting evicted because of it. I mean, we're lucky we even have lights.
You know what? We're lucky we even have lights. When you get to that point in your life, man, it's difficult out there. We have got to do a better job of processing those unemployment claims. We got states. Look, I can tell you, Tennessee, sorry, you're sorry. Georgia, you're sorry. Florida, you're sorry. Do your damn jobs. Get these claims, get them processed so people can live. And of course, the president, he's doing what he's doing. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. We'll talk about him some more in a minute. Well, you know what? Schools are back in session. Yeah. Dropped my daughter off on yesterday at Tennessee State University. I tell you what, it was a little somber, but she decided she was going to do a little bit of online and also in-person in-person learning. So she's at school. They do have a social distancing piece set up. She's in her own room by herself, which I'm hoping that's how it is at most of these colleges and universities around the country. They're telling them to shelter in place for about 14 days. So don't do a lot of going outside of your bubble there, right? Don't do a lot of going outside the bubble. But what about those youngsters who are going back to these secondary schools, going back to elementary school, going back to high school and middle school? And we have to think about them. We have to think about the parents who are hurting. We know these kids have got to be in school because they're hurting, but we know that they're hurting parents if the parents have got to stay home with them, right? Well, check this out. What about the teachers? Has anybody thought about the teachers and support staff? Check this out.
And as some school districts push to reopen, we caught up with a couple of teachers who say they're worried about returning to the classroom. Let's listen.
I do not feel safe going back into the school building right now. When schools closed in South Carolina in March, there were 45 cases. A couple days ago, there were over 1,200 cases, and they've ranged between 1,500 and 2,000. And so I don't feel safe until the state gets the number of cases under control. The expectation of, we've got to get students back in the school building to take care of their social and emotional needs is really not fair to the teachers and the schools, because they cannot have that burden on top of being able to teach during a pandemic.
We want nothing more, the same as parents, families, government officials, to get back to a sense of normalcy, to be able to hug and love on our students in person, in classrooms. We know what schools mean to communities, but we don't want to feel as though that we are being sacrificed or being forced to risk our lives to go back into the classroom.
That's right. You signed up to teach. You didn't sign up for a war, right? So until the government gets it right, we need to make sure that we're doing a hybrid model so that these parents who can stay home with their children and go through virtual learning, let them do that. But now there's some parents who've got to go to work and their children have to go to some type of instructional environment. So let's check this out. Why don't we get our churches involved? We got a lot of churches around the corner. Let's get some of these buildings open. Let's get some of these folks who have been retired for some years to come in and assist in these neighborhoods so we can make sure our kids get the instruction they need and also not burdensome them the parents because we know the parents count. But I don't need my teacher sick either. Teachers, I'm hanging in there for you. Y'all hang in there. It's gonna be all right. We're gonna get there together. Hey, speaking of that, post office. Oh my God. Everybody hate people. The dogs hate the postman. Some people say my mail is not being delivered properly. But now all of a sudden you got a president who's decided he wants to cut and say no more new money for the post office because it's going to contribute to them harvesting ballots where people want to do mail-in voting. This guy is really different. Hey, take a listen to this right quick.
A fight over post office funding with potential implications for the election is interfering with congressional talks to renew coronavirus aid. President Trump rejects the Democrats' demand for $25 billion in emergency funding for the U.S. Postal Service, plus another $3.6 billion to help states process mail-in ballots in November. Ben Tracy is at the White House. Ben, how is the president using politics to say no?
Well, this is money that the Postal Service says that it needs, especially to handle what is expected to be a record number of people voting by mail because of the pandemic. But President Trump is now making it very clear that he doesn't want to do anything to make voting by mail any easier.
They can be forged. They can be captured. They can be taken.
They can be captured. We're capturing ballots now. I just don't understand where we go with this guy tomorrow, the next day. But I do know what we need to do. I know that folks need to activate, they need to register, they need to mobilize, they need to vote. You have got to do your civic duty in this particular case because if not, we don't know the journey that lays ahead for us because it really doesn't look really pretty. But I know what the post office does a hell of a job, and I want to shout out to all those folks out there walking the streets in those little postal jeeps delivering mail in the heat, in the cold, in the snow and the rain. Keep happening. Keep doing your thing. We here at Funky Politics support you, all of our postal employees out there. Speaking of supporting our employees, our government people, we've got retired Lieutenant James Sears, Lieutenant Colonel James Sears, who will be with us here on Funky Politics Day. The brother's called Mr. Speaker. He has done poetry all around the world. This brother is now working. He's still working with the government a little bit as he's retired, but he has a real deep sense of knowledge of what's going on in our country. And I want to make sure that we bring him on today so that you guys can have a sense of what's really happening out there. We need leadership today. We'll be right back with retired Lieutenant Colonel James Sears in just a minute.
Welcome to the Grind Set Show. We are so excited to have Felicia Jarrell in the studio with us today. She is the CEO of Gold Mine & Cocoa. First of all, Felicia, what is Gold Mine & Cocoa and how did it get started?
Gold Mine & Cocoa is an online stationery and lifestyle brand where we sprinkle planners, accessories, and apparel with Black girl magic so you can make a powerful statement and plan for success. So our merchandise features hand-drawn depictions of everyday Black women and delivers the sentiment of sisterhood and positive vibes you need to achieve your life and business goals.
Kadzukian. Check out all your Kadzukian favorites now. Download the Kadzukian app, available on Android and iOS.
Yo, Noob, what's up there, Brother Sears? How you doing, good brother?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Man, I'm hanging in there. Good to have you here, brother, on Funky Politics, my man. Good
Oh,
to
yeah.
have you. Man, you know what? I get a chance to enjoy your company every year during CBC, and I was telling Larry, I said, man, what are we gonna do with no CBC this year in person, right, man? I'm thinking we need to go and just come on up there anyway. Let's go on, and we're gonna throw a CBC week in the middle of Black Lives Matter Plaza. I don't know, man. We gotta do something, bro. We gotta do something, man.
Well, I'm here. Come on.
Yeah, man. I got you. Hey, I want to jump right into it. We just got a few minutes, but I want to talk a lot about not only your career, but also what you're seeing out there in terms of now the role that you're playing with Homeland Security, but our country in general. But one thing that just happened not recently was a brother was just appointed to lead the Air Force, man. This is the first, right?
Absolutely.
The first. Tell me, why so long, man?
It's a combination of things, opportunities, systemic, institutional biases / racism. we're fighting through those things, and it's just hard. You elect or you promote those that look like you,
Yeah.
and it just takes time. And so when you don't have anybody in those positions for a while, it's hard to grow somebody in those positions. But they have achieved. The Air Force is the youngest of the military organizations, so they're about on par.
But wait a minute now the baby of all of that is the Space Force. Now, I ain't gonna lie. I don't know where the Space Force is even located. I don't know where the office at, but even to think about Space Force, man,
It's
I'm
mostly
like,
Air Force, and it's mostly Air Force. So just
whoa,
talking the same thing.
amazing.
You
Mostly
took
Air Force, huh?
what all you did, DC, was you didn't create very many new positions.
Yeah.
You just sliced a piece of the Air Force off and called them Space Force.
Oh wow. Wow.
I mean, that I know a lot of people think we did get a couple of leaders at the very, very top, but for the most part, same people doing the same job, just under a different moniker.
Wow. Well, and I want to stay right there and talk in terms of talking about the military, man. In today's climate, the military, the use of the military, not only foreign but domestic now. You know, would you still insist that your young black son sign up for military service?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. I think it's as far as teaching leadership, which is what we lack across the United States and the world, educational opportunities, camaraderie, those things are important. But let me set the record straight for you right now.
Go ahead.
United States military is different than guards or security people that you might see at a federal building. Those are not soldiers. Let's get something straight. It's like if you see a Marine, they call a Marine troop, or they sometimes call a Marine soldier. Soldier, the word soldier is used so synonymously across all kind of different spectrums. But let me tell you, the United States Army was not deployed to DC or to out on the West Coast to do any of those things. You're taking people that you're federalizing that are guards like Blackwater or the private security, and then they put our uniforms on, but you will notice no name tags because they can't, quote, wear our uniform the same way the soldiers wear uniforms. And then you have the media calling them military incorrectly. You have the president saying it incorrectly. But I will assure you, it's called posse comitatus. We cannot go into a state unless the governor asked us to come in, period. Not the president, the governor has to ask. What they're doing now is they're sending in these individuals in uniform, calling them military, and they're not, but they're supposed to be going in to protect the federal buildings. But in Portland and what have you, they've been extending past what they were asked to do or what they originally went in to do, but those are not federal troops. Let's get that straight.
Whoa, not federal troops. Hey, you heard it right here first, y'all, on Funky Politics. Well, I want to stay right there, man. I want to talk. Just give me just a little bit, a brief background on your journey to the rank of lieutenant colonel. Man, you come off the main streets of is it Louisville? Is it Louisville, Mississippi, Louisville, Kentucky, or somewhere around there? One of them kind of states. I don't want to downplay Louisville, Kentucky, and upplay Louisville, Mississippi, but Louisville, right?
Louisville, Kentucky. So graduated from Louisville Male High School. Went on to Western Kentucky University, commissioned into the United States Army. I did some National Guard time there as well, paying your way through school, through the military. As soon as I got commissioned into the field artillery, went right to Desert Shield, Desert Storm, right into combat action. That was early 1990s. Came out of that, became a logistics officer, been doing logistics for several years. I've commanded multiple times, traveled overseas, received a lot of awards and decorations, had a great time, and just learned how to take care of people over my 30 years of military service. Right now, I retired out of the Pentagon and was blessed enough to get right back in the Pentagon, working as a government civilian, taking care of troops. So I still sound like a soldier because I still work around them and take care of them on a daily basis.
And you're still a soldier, tried and true when it's all said and done. When they lay you down, you're gonna not only be, you're gonna have a nuke badge on, but you're gonna have your medallions on as well too. That's just how it works, right?
That's how it works.
Wow. Hey man, speaking of your journey, man, also I want to get into, and I know you've seen this, Black Lives Matter. You've seen the unrest not only in your hometown of Louisville, which I know it's got to just really just be just completely disheartening to you to see what's going on in the streets of Louisville, Kentucky right now, but also in D.C., what's been going on in the DMV area as well. You know, at some point when we see what you just explained to us with Blackwater and all those folks in Portland, but we as Americans, we as people saw military uniforms, and now all of a sudden I have this negative connotation about my military that they're the ones that are swinging batons, they're the ones that are throwing the pepper spray on peaceful protest. These I'm talking about peaceful protest. I ain't talking about somebody you saw walk up and bust one out of Macy's. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about peaceful folks who are standing there or kneeling. Now all of a sudden you're asking people, especially I'm talking about my community, black community, to still trust the military, man. How does help me understand that?
Okay, so number one, I would tell you that they were, like I said before, they were not military.
Yeah.
Number two, the freedoms that you currently have are because of the military. And we as a nation are dealing with poor leadership. That's why this pandemic is still, we're in the middle of it. But the issue is for soldiers. I just want to impress upon this to you and your listeners.
Yeah.
We can't stand down. Pandemic or not, we have not left our post. We have not left our positions. We are standing on guard for this country, even as this pandemic races through our formations as well.
Yeah, sure.
So don't be discouraged. Understand that this democratic process that we're about to see take place is backed up. And because of the way other countries have failed thousands of years ago, we have a system in place that does not allow for a dictator to take over. I mean, and a lot of people may not understand why the military can't go into Georgia without the governor asking, because it looks like a coup, or we're trying to take that country, or every state is a sovereign country, as a just so you know. So we cannot go in there without being asked. And every state has a National Guard. So now you may see the National Guard doing work for them. And if you go back to the boycotts and the different things that happened in the 60s, or the desegregation of schools, where the National Guard was told one day to not let the blacks in, and then the very next day they were federalized and those same guys escorted the people in. So there's a hierarchy of what can happen. If they're federalized and ask for help by the government, by the governor, we can do it. Otherwise, we're out. We cannot go in. And that's the way it's set up, to protect the state sovereignty.
So I would say to all of our listeners and our viewers to make sure, let's not paint our military with a broad brush, right? And I guess that's what I'm hearing you say, Colonel, is let's not paint them with a broad brush and saying they are the ones that are swinging the batons, because number one, they very well could be those folks who are Blackwater, and they could be possibly the National Guard who's being called up by the governors, right? Or they could be some of these particular federalized troops. And I'm not so sure that the president is federalized anybody.
And we follow orders. At the end of the day, we follow orders from civilians that are put in place by civilians. So we elect the president.
That's right.
And if that president is leading us down the wrong path, don't fault the military. Fault the voters who voted them in. But we got to follow the orders of those people put in leadership.
Well, I want to get into that on this last part, but before I go there, I want to talk about, man, kind of what you've done across the world. I mean, you've been in I've seen you in Stuttgart, Germany, Stuttgart is what I said, Stuttgart, Germany. You've been in some other countries, and you developed this knack for writing, brother, and expressing yourself in prose. I'm an old English major, so man, to hear poetry and prose, man, it just warms my heart. How did you get into that piece, man? With your military background, your new piece, well, I know where you got it from, but anyway, your military background. How did poetry become a passion of yours?
I would tell you, DC, I was stationed in Iraq as a senior leader. All these kids I'm responsible for, I got to send them out on the road. I can't sleep. I have stuff weighing on me all the time. Every decision it seemed like every decision was a life or death decision. I had to fly to different places, would put my life in danger, and then I'm up late at night. So it's like a fog.
Yeah.
Through that fog and through the things that you see, you sometimes can develop issues or concerns that weigh on you. Writing them down has been the best cure for me. See, the military, what I found about soldiers and what we do, we can't share because the majority of the people don't understand what we're talking about or question some of the things we do. The pen and paper never questioned me. I can write down my feelings and I can walk away from them. If I don't put them on paper, I can't get them off my heart. I can't get them out of my head, and I can't move on to the next things I need to do.
From a therapeutic standpoint, I'm going to stop you right there. Would you suggest to those of us who are non-military as well, that when you have something like that that's heavy on you, and I found this to be true too, Noop, is that, man, I just got to write it down.
You got to write it
down. Sometimes I can't talk myself enough out of this thing.
No,
I
you
dream
gotta
too
write
long.
about
I think too much. And so
some people talk a lot about it, though. Those that don't verbalize it should write about it. But let me just make sure we understand something. Post-traumatic stress, and we're trying to take the D out of that because it's a disorder. If you get raped and you don't have PTS, then there's a disorder. If you don't have some type of traumatic, it's not an everyday occurrence. But you can't get raped or be robbed or be in a major car accident and not have some type of post-traumatic stress. So it's not, in a box toward the military.
Yeah.
You can get that do everyday living. So write about that stuff, get it off your chest, because it'll manifest itself in some other ways that are negative.
Amazing. And so if there was a favorite poet out there, someone who is now, someone who's old, is there anybody out there other than yourself that you have looked at, man, this is just some stuff.
No.
This gives me inspiration, man. This is me.
Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou, those two are my go-to no matter what and when. But what I found is even though I can write about a lot of stuff, people are most drawn to the stuff I write about the military. So I've written about PTSD. I've written about leadership in combat, the book Heart of a Combat Leader. But those things appeal to people because, like I said, when you think about anything that we do, business, social organizations, politics, if you don't have good leadership, you can kiss it goodbye. So we should be pushing leadership. And the reason why we have good leadership, I want to spawn it back to sports and athletics. At the lower levels, teach kids how to get along in these groups. And then some of those guys grow into the military soldiers and officers and corporate leaders that you see today. So we need to keep on building leadership.
You know what, man? I think it goes back to the sandbox rules, right? If you have kind of mastered the sandbox rules, then you're in a pretty good shape to say, look, I know how to take each level of my life. I know that my tender teens going to offer me something. I know my twinkling 20s going to give me something. I know my thunder 30s going to do this, and my foursome 40s. And so when those sandbox rules are applied to your life and you stick with them and you have a little bit of something behind you, some grit, I think you can make it. And I think that's what I'm seeing here with you, Colonel, man, for what you represent, brother, to the brotherhood and also to these black men. I mean, that's what we need in our country, man. We need more men like you who have stood up and said, hey, look, there is some things that are going on inside. And sometimes I got to write it down to get it on the outside. And hopefully it'll help if I share it with you. It'll help you go in a different way, right?
That's absolute. But I think you got to continue to get this, build your education. We're not reading as much as we need to be doing, and we're not staying as professional. And we need to be able to, we have got to learn how to discuss hard topics without getting angry. You got to understand now, the United States is a social experiment.
Yes.
We've been led by dictators and by power. If you go back and look at Black Panther, it showed you whoever was the strongest was your leader. That didn't make that person the smartest or the best leader.
That's right.
We are now in a situation where we're trying to put the best leaders in place, and we got to keep building them so they're available to be put in place, because those good leaders at the lower levels also help correct the senior leaders as well.
Well, speaking about leadership, I want before you get out of here, we got to wrap this thing up. The Biden-Harris ticket. What'd you think? What'd you think, man?
I love it. And let
Yeah.
me be straight. And I'm
Let
not
you qualify that. You love it. I like that. I like to hear that. Go ahead.
And I want to be straight. Most of the work we got to do is internal. And when I say internal, I mean Divine Nine internal. And I want you to know that the moment that ticket was announced, 4 of the presidents of Greek letter organizations had to call the leader of Alpha Kappa Alpha to make sure that she understood that we're supporting Kamala Harris. Yeah. Now, I know there's some issues. Yes, she ran for president and she just became active back with AKA. I could care less. Yeah. I could care less. You got problems with who she's married to. That doesn't matter to me either. You want to be mad at her because she was a prosecutor? Change the laws. She was following the laws. She was doing her job. That's like coming at me saying I was too harsh on the Iraqis when I was in the war. I did what I was supposed to do.
That's right. You did what we hired you to do. We hired you to do that job, didn't we? We hired you to do that job? All right.
Absolutely. And paid me well to do it.
Paid you well to
do it. We have to get, women are notorious for attacking each other. It's just they just are. And they can come at me if they want to. It's going to be another loss.
I'm gonna give him your phone number, Doc. I'm gonna give him your phone number now.
Attacking each other, find the positive so we can move forward. This country needs to heal and move. And what we want to do is, what is she wearing? What is her hair? She hasn't been active. Or I don't care. We need leadership, and we have a bigger pressing issue of what's in the White House right now, because it is taking our country into peril. We don't have allies that trust us. Our enemies are trying to circle us, and we can't even see it happening. If you think this pandemic is not, if you think our enemies aren't looking at how to weaponize this pandemic, there's something wrong with you.
Whoa.
If you think that they're not looking at how we're reacting to them attacking through social media, there's something wrong with you. If you think they can't see that America has been the leader for racist ideology for at least a couple hundred years, that Hitler didn't get everything that he learned from America. That Hitler was appalled that America would even attack him the way we were being. Let me tell you a quick story, real quick story. During World War II, black soldiers were deployed to England, and those black and white soldiers were going to the same pub. While at the same pub, the white soldiers got offended, and it started a brawl because they didn't want those black soldiers in there, because in their mind, blacks don't drink with whites.
That's right.
So they brought their segregation ideas to England, started into a brawl. They called the military police. A couple of people died, soldiers. Ultimately, the pub the pub owner decided to make the pub all black. Since black and whites couldn't drink together, they made it all black, because they told the white guys, don't bring your segregationist ideologies to England. And so we have got to, it's going to be hard for Americans to get over something they won't even identify with.
They won't even admit.
People learn to stay with roots.
Well, I'll tell you what. Hey, Lieutenant, I got to get out of here, Colonel. But one thing before where can we go to catch you either on YouTube? Because I know you're probably not traveling right now, because most of us are not out there in these planes going, especially in some of these venues. Where can we catch any of your latest work? Are you working on a book or something? And let our listeners and viewers know.
Yeah, I have one book out right now. It's called Heart of a Military Leader. It's on Amazon. My second book will drop probably at the end of this year or early next year. It's called Love versus Hate. I'm on YouTube. I host a poetry show every Monday night.
Where, brother? Where you hosting?
It's on Blog Talk Radio.
You
can find it on my Facebook page, James, Mr. Speaker Sears. It's a 1-hour poetry show where we talk about current events, and then we do a little bit of poetry, and we get in and out of there real quick. Then at the end of the day, I'm on YouTube, Facebook, and IG anytime.
Hey, Mr. Speaker, let me tell you something, brother. I appreciate you stopping by with us today. Give me just a minute. I got some closing thoughts, but man, next time we're gonna have a little bit longer to talk, and hopefully it'll be before we have our mini CBC meeting in DC. All right.
I was expecting some hard hitting questions, and you didn't.
Hey, look. I got some hard hitting questions. That'll be another show. Okay, that'll be another show.
All right.
Stay well, good brother. We'll talk to you again. All right. I'll be right back, y'all, with some closing thoughts here on Fuck Your Politics.
Hello and welcome to R&R on Sports. We are pleased to have with us today Mike Wallace, who is the Grind City Media Senior Editor. Mike, welcome to R&R on Sports.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me, man. And I hope you guys are safe and pushing through this, man. Thanks a lot. It's been far too long. I'm glad we're finally able to do this.
Absolutely. But Howard, you got to put some respect on this brother's name. Now, he used to do the Heat Index for the Miami Heat. This brother went to the championship 4 times in a row. Now, he wasn't on the court actually before the game and after the game, but he went to the championship 4 times in a row with the Miami Heat. What's up, my brother Mike?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Kadzukian. Check out all your Kadzukian favorites now. Download the Kadzukian app, available on Android and iOS.
Hey, I have got to get retired Lieutenant Colonel James Sears back in the studio, y'all. Mr. Speaker, my brother Newt from EP out of West Kentucky University. He represented the South Central. Got to get him back on the show sometime soon so we can finish up this conversation. This brother is deep. His knowledge is wide. He's been around the world, and he's seen the military from the inside and out. He's seen the ugly, and he's seen the pretty. And I think his ideal about we can still have a more perfect union, but we got to love each other. And we got to get together. I think that ought to resonate with you. Hopefully it does, as our listeners and viewers right here on Funky Politics. As we get ready to get out of here, one thing about it, COVID-19 is not going anywhere. The numbers are plateauing in most cases around the country. Some areas, they still got hot spots, but you know what? We're still going to wear our masks. We're still going to wash those damn hands, and we're going to still observe this social distancing of 6 feet. So until next time, I am DC. I'm out of here, and I'll see you one more time sometime real soon, right here on Funky Politics. See you later.